Hey guys, Stock Saturday, and it's a green week for me, surprisingly, considering gold, silver, and Bitcoin are down. I'm up about 3.3%, a little more in after hours, about £11,000. This is sort of largely due to one stock, pretty much. You wouldn't guess it from here. It is among these. Stay tuned sort of towards the end to find out which. I mean, comparing that to the S&P up 0.75%, not too bad for that. Doing a little bit better than that. And the Nasdaq is almost the same, 0.73%. So yeah, 3.5 or so. Really pleased with that. This is a lot of just tech stocks. There's an awful lot of stocks outside the tech sector that are down this week. So yeah, very mixed bag, but we'll see. So no earnings this week. We're in that sort of end of quarter period, coming up to the start of quarter two results next month. So thought I'd have a look at some of the news of my holdings. CleanSpark have acquired 5 new facilities for mining in Georgia to add the cards that they've bought. They've sort of placed the options for their cards and have been presumably feverishly hunting around for sites to put them in. This is sort of stark contrast, really, to Riot Platforms, sort of having the miners and having just one great big facility to put them into. CleanSpark seem to be going the sort of small and diversified option, whether that's because they have to or sort of if they think this will be better. I mean, presumably these will all need staff to run them, and this could end up being a more expensive way of doing things. But yeah, 5 sites ranging from 8 megawatts to 15 megawatts for a total of 60. These combined facilities will add 3.7 exahash. They're deploying S21 Pro miners in them. So very efficient, but yeah, 3.7 exahash for across 5 sites is quite sort of small per site. But for a cash payment of 25 million, just over $25 million. So yeah, interesting. Currently own 300 megawatt, and once these and Sandersville is fully energized, they'll have 400 megawatt, or sort of 20, looking like nearly 25 exahash. So yeah, slow going, and Riot appear to be sort of have a cleaner path to their targets. So speaking of Riot, as I say, I'm looking forward to their June report, see if they can get to their target of 21 exahash, because that would put them sort of right at CleanSpark's total. Presume it won't all be operating, but that is coming sort of in the next few months. So with them still being under the market cap of CleanSpark and having more Bitcoin and having more Bitcoin and more cash on the balance sheet, and now a 14% stake in Bitfarms, it is looking sort of very good value. Still kind of tempting to maybe take a bit of profit on CleanSpark and add to the Riot position, but we'll see. So they acquired ownership of 1.4 million shares of Bitfarms. It's put them up to 14% ownership at an average price of $2.70. So they're sort of averaging up on their position, but it's now $2.94 to be fair. So not looking too bad. And yeah, they own 56 million shares, approximately 13.65, or they did own 13.65. They now own right on 14%. So interesting to see whether this sort of helps in their case to try and purchase them. They're saying that the board of directors are awful, and sort of obviously taking a larger and larger stake allows them to sort of potentially vote members of that board out, and they can sort of throw their weight behind other shareholders. And yeah, if not, I guess, as I keep saying, if someone else buys them, then they've made a reasonable amount of money on these shares. They were buying a lot at sort of 220. It's now 294. So yeah, better than just cash on the balance sheet, I suppose. Good bit of news for Rio Tinto. If you're into the lithium space, this is sort of very, very long-term news. But yeah, Serbia given the green light for the lithium mine. Whether this is because they lost to England in our first game, who knows? But it did seem to come right afterwards. They've said they've had new guarantees over environmental concerns that they had raised. That was sort of what the public were largely sort of not in favour of, it seemed. But yeah, they've given the green light. But this is a very long-term project. They're saying if they deliver everything on time, then it would be 2028 operational. So 4 years away, and that's if everything goes well. You could be looking at 2029, maybe even 2030 to be sort of fully ramped up. And they're saying that that will produce 58,000 tons of lithium per year, enough for 17% of the EV production in Europe at 1.1 million cars. Presuming that's a projected number for where they expect to be in 2028. But yeah, that's a decent project and sort of diversifying them obviously a little more from just iron ore. I do think people seeing them as a copper play potentially is still a kind of nonsense, really. Their copper production is very low, but yeah, this is long-term, bit more diversification. Bit of a short news story, almost a jokey news story, to be honest. Fortuna Silver Mines had an annual and special meeting, and this seems to be sort of voting on election of directors, but the sort of the other big thing that people will notice is changing the name. So I've been saying for a while they are sort of Fortuna Gold Mines, not Fortuna Silver Mines, and they are changing their name to Fortuna Mining Corp. So it's looking like in the next couple of years, all of their silver will be gone. So a lot of sort of silver companies, Pan American Silver, for example, trade a hell of a lot of gold, and a hell of a lot of their revenue comes from gold. But they obviously do some silver, a reasonable amount of silver. Whereas Fortuna, if you're mining no silver at all, then calling yourself Fortuna Silver Mines is a little bit misleading, and I don't think they're going to get that sort of people just typing silver stocks into Google anymore. So yeah, Fortuna Mining Corp, fair enough. And they're sort of going deeper into the gold, sort of finding new veins of gold at their Sangala project. Kind of surprised to still see the Chinese stocks sort of coming down. They're doing, a lot of the others are doing sort of buybacks. Baidu don't appear to be doing buybacks, but not on any great scale compared to the others. But they still look sort of reasonable value. It's a small position of mine, but a few people have sort of commented whether I would be getting back into them or adding to my position. I think I will later on. It doesn't sort of seem as good risk return as some of my other positions, especially on the sort of option side and the crypto side. So yeah, it's not something I'm doing just yet, but sort of potentially next year, if I'm taking profit on that sort of thing, looking to deploy elsewhere, then yeah, potentially China is one of those places. They're still getting sort of positive, 2 quarters in a row of positive earnings surprises. 18% better than expected, 11% better than expected. In the last year, they're down 38%. The previous quarter was 9.9%. Then you did have a fairly low, I think this was sort of part way through the downturn, 65% down in the last 5 years. So, well, that's all time. So the last sort of 3 years, and 2021 was kind of a bull market for pretty much everything. But yeah, they still have huge amount of cash on the balance sheet, like a lot of Chinese companies, and getting sort of bullish news. Tesla, it looks like, are getting their full self-driving in China sort of approved. Baidu have been doing their own self-driving with the sort of Apollo Go driverless cars. And yeah, they're going to partner for maps and navigation from the looks of it for Tesla's full self-driving. They don't want sort of Tesla's own maps and everything being used, I guess, and they want them to sort of partner with a state overviewed company such as Baidu. So yeah, with sort of bullish news coming out and links to AI. They've got their own AI stuff going on as well as part of their search engine and things. Yeah, I think sort of what are we looking at, like 5 forward PE ratio once you start knocking off cash and that sort of thing. Does look good. But the main thing I'm still looking to allocate to over the next couple of months certainly would be gold and potentially crypto. Gold side, sort of gold still consolidating for the last sort of couple of months, similar to Bitcoin really, although Bitcoin was from March for sort of different reasons, you could say, maybe similar reasons. But yeah, this sort of consolidation pattern, a lot of people are saying we've got a little bit of a liquidity dip sort of going into July, sort of summertime, and then things look good for sort of the rest of the year and certainly next year. So yeah, kind of waiting for a little bit more of a drop potentially in July, maybe just below 2200 on the gold, and yeah, probably looking to sort of pile a load more money into the miners and potentially crypto as well, whether I go for sort of Riot platforms or something else. But yeah, that's looking like my best risk reward at the moment. I'm sort of piling up cash ready for next month. Just sort of looking at some of the other commodities are sort of fairly well down on the agricultural side. Soybeans, wheat, lumber, cotton, all sort of double-digit percentage down in the last month. Oats as well, potatoes up, but yeah, it sort of looks a bit of a rocky market at the moment. Sort of lithium down 11%, 70% down on the year. You do wonder, sort of Rio Tinto getting into that, but long term we need it, even if it is an incredibly abundant material. Yeah, looking at some of the other commodities, got coal 7% down on the month. Some of the other sort of industrial metals that I like, sort of Glencore ones, 7% down on zinc, 15% down on nickel for the month. Yeah, really sort of keen on those going forward, but it looks like we're getting a bit of a drop at the moment. So a lot of these sort of base metal miners are struggling a little. The sort of more copper-focused miners are still holding up reasonably well. Copper may have dropped a bit, but yeah, it's 13% up year on year, and sort of did, reach $5, over $5. So yeah, that looked a bit of a speculative blow-off, but we'll see where we go. And just looking at some of the economic news, it's a real mixed bag this week. You had the EU inflation come out, pretty much completely on target. Core CPI slightly up from previous month, and headline up as well, but it's sort of under 3%. I think they can take that. They did still cut rates, and see what we get for June. Retail sales in America, sort of bit of a mixed bag, slightly worse than expected. You had the UK inflation, sort of all pretty much as expected. Core CPI down to 3.5%, but the headline was obviously headline 2% inflation. That's sort of what they're looking to get down to long term, although the Bank of England and Fed and everyone actually look at more sort of core CPI and core PCE on the Fed side. So yeah, that's not quite at the target. Maybe to get to 2% core CPI, headline will come down way lower than this, but yeah, we'll see. Bank of England left interest rates as they are. Don't think anyone was, expecting them to cut. They got 7-2, voted unchanged as expected. And then you had some sort of weak data from the US on jobless claims, sort of slightly higher than expected. But then Friday had a little bit of a blowout good news for the UK on retail sales. And then you had some sort of weak-looking PMI numbers from Europe. and strong numbers coming from the US. But sort of more take a notice of the ISM non-manufacturing numbers, to be honest, rather than these sort of provisional S&P sort of current numbers. So yeah, I'll wait and see for sort of more data. So just looking at the portfolio, Stellantis and Broadcom have sort of both come down a reasonable amount. Broadcom did reach sort of the high 1800s. This is still awaiting the stock split. Taiwan Semiconductor, though, looking pretty strong. Did reach sort of 180, but yeah, that's come back down to 173, looking strong. Prosus, €34, looking pretty good on the up. Himax up to $8.21, and yeah, that's sort of almost a break-even position. It did go a bit higher than this, and has sort of come slightly back. And then, as I say, yeah, the miners sort of looking a little bit rough. On the ISA side, CleanSpark, obviously, Kua Mining, Riot Platforms, and everything coming down quite strongly on Friday. With the gold, silver, and Bitcoin moves. So that kind of ruined what was going to potentially be a 10% green week. But yeah, that was a fairly rough move. REITs sort of not really gone anywhere. Interactive Brokers side, Pan American and KGHM sort of both coming down slightly. Pan American still above $20 though. But yeah, KGHM sort of getting hit by copper and silver at the same time. So the big stock that has moved me for the week, if you haven't guessed, is Himax Technologies. So I sort of highlighted that I've nearly gone green on it because I haven't been averaging down in the invest account. I've been sort of buying options, so my average was still $8.31. But yeah, it's up 23% for the week. And sort of on the option side, I think where people had been not interested in the options at all. It was just, how much lower can it go? Can it go $5, $4? It'd rise to $6, come back to $5 again. And then, yeah, now it started sort of having these, large spikes, week after week, maybe separated by a bit of sort of flat for a week. People have started going from how much lower can it go to how high can it go? And suddenly that gets excitement in the options. And yeah, all of a sudden, what was, I think, a $9,000 position goes to 20,000. It did reach sort of 27 earlier in the week. Yeah, so this is sort of when I was highlighting before, buying options in a stock that no one thinks is going to go up is very, very profitable when it does end up going up. If sort of, I would say, if something like Tesla were to, I don't know, stock split themselves all the way down to the same price as Himax, then you're sort of getting like for like prices in theory. I think Tesla would be a lot higher price than Himax because basically there's an awful lot more Tesla bulls than there are Himax bulls. So it does make the sort of risk reward on the options not quite as good. Because no one thought Himax was going to rise, and similarly with the gold and silver miners, you do get sort of very, very low priced options because no one thinks it's going to do well. On the crypto side, crypto's similar to Tesla somewhat. You can't get amazing deals on Riot Platforms options because everyone thinks crypto is going to do well. Similarly with sort of CleanSpark and people like that. So yeah, as I say, the same price stock, if Himax and CleanSpark were the same price, you get a much better risk reward on Himax if it is going to do well in the end. Not the easiest way of explaining it, but yeah, I'm sure you get what I mean. So yeah, certainly not adding to Himax anymore. I'll be looking to add to the miners, but yeah, got £2,000 sitting here waiting for July, and we'll be looking to add a reasonable amount more than that, saving up cash at the moment. So yeah, interesting to see where we go. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.